Hello, Jennifer Cates here with Digital Combustion, and today's tutorial video will be on the player edition of Fire Studio 7. So you'll find out if you've used Fire Studio before that the player edition is very similar to the instructor edition except for one major point. You cannot author or do any changes on the player edition. So it's a much more stripped down version, if you will, of the interface and the capabilities of what you can do with Fire Studio Instructor Edition. So this is just going to be a quick guide to get you started using the player edition. So this is the interface that you'll see when you first start Fire Studio 7 Player Edition. And you can see that it is similar to the Instructor Edition, except for quite a few buttons are missing. So we're just going to concentrate on opening a simulation and then seeing what we can do with that simulation from there. So if we click the Open button, it's going to go into, you're going to find where you have those simulations saved. And it could be something that you made on the Instructor Edition, or maybe you're a Blue Card user where you've downloaded Blue Card simulations. But this is where you'll go ahead and we'll select the simulation we want to open and open it here in the Player Edition. So you can see right off the bat something's different if you've used Fire Studio before. And this log file came up, and it's showing me that I'm missing some layers. And that's new to Fire Studio 7, both Instructor and Player Edition. And what that does is if you have a simulation and some of your files have been deleted or moved, or there's some problem with your files, it will report them here so you can at least see what they are and hopefully be able to get those back in place so that you can open the simulation properly. So it's just a really good way to figure out if there's anything missing on your simulation. So to close this log file or hide this panel, all we have to do is hit the L key on our keyboard or this close log button on the interface. And so you can see that it went away. Now, anytime I want to pull that back up, I can by hitting the L on my keyboard, and you can do that anytime if you want to see if there's something missing. Okay, so you can see now we have our simulation open. It's one of 13 slides, and I can actually go through those slides right now with the slider. I can go through clicking the next button to go to the different slides and navigate through my simulation. Now, if this happened to be a simulation that had automatic advance, where each slide had a certain timer on it, it would just go automatically as soon as it went into that mode. And so that's all you need to know as far as controlling it. Now, if you did nothing else right here and this is all you want to do and you just want to display the simulation and you don't want to see this interface, we're going to either hit the I key or this interface button right here. And what that does is it hides the interface. So this gets you into a presentation mode so that you can display the simulation without seeing the interface at all. Now, if you wanted to have a mini navigation panel come up, you can hit the Tab key, and that'll bring up a small navigation panel here where you can actually go through the slides, and then maybe that way you can see which slide you're on if you needed to know that. And if you want to hide that again, you just hit the Tab key. So let's bring our interface back and see what else is here. We have the split window view, and that is only active if you actually have a 4-window view, or 2 or 3 or whatever windows you have. And so if I wanted to get out of split window view, I can just hit the S key or the split window view here. And I can also use my keyboard to switch to those other views. So I can use the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the top of the keyboard to switch to those different views of that simulation. And I can do that even if the interface is gone. So if I wanted to do something like that, and that's more if you're maybe using the Player Edition, but you're teaching the class, where you might want that interface out of the way so people aren't looking at it. So now this network button down here, that's only needed if you're using Comlink. And Comlink's used to control multiple copies of Fire Studio over on network. And so if you have a command training center, or if you have multiple copies over your department's network and you can actually go station to station where you can control all the different stations' player editions from a central location, like maybe at your training officer's office or somewhere like that. Or if you have a command training center where you have a room set up for that, this is when you'll use the network button, and that's how you log in to comlink, but we'll go over that in a different tutorial video. So a couple other things to notice here. We have a pause and a play and a reset button here. And if you had a simulation that had a lot of things going on, maybe it starts off small, gets bigger, you can actually pause that if you were teaching the class and you wanted to talk about it. If you have the interface gone, you can actually hit the space bar and that'll pause the simulation as well. So when I go back here, so if you wanted to start the slide from the very beginning, you just have to hit the reset button, and then that takes it all the way back to the beginning. And you can see we've got our explosion there, and we can then talk about that simulation, or if you're doing the training, you can continue on. Now, the set screenshot file, you can take screenshots of all these different slides that you have. So if you want to do either use those in a different program, if you want to take a screenshot and use it in a PowerPoint presentation or something else, you can set this screenshot file, and that's just asking you where you want to save it. And so it's going to ask you what you want to start naming those pictures. And so I'm just going to put pic.bmp and select. And so now it's going to save anytime I hit this grab screenshot, it's going to save it as a bitmap in that folder that I told it to save it in. So that's a pretty handy way of taking screenshots. A lot of people will have their own screenshot capability as far as different software on their machines, and they can use that as well. Now, moving up here to this print simulation button, if you click that, what that's going to ask you is to name a PDF that you're going to be saving here. And what that does is it'll save a thumbnail each and every one of your slides and windows, and that way you can print that out. So it's nice if you wanted to kind of have a storyboard of your simulation so that when you're presenting it, you'd have a little reference to know which slide is which and what's on that slide. And it's just a handy little PDF for you to have. And as you build bigger and bigger simulations, they become even more useful because it's hard to keep track of each one of your slides. So that's what the print simulation button does. This lock button here, if you click it, what it'll do is it'll allow you to scroll through to a certain slide without actually changing it yet until you unlock it. And so it'll let you move through your simulation if you wanted to use this without them seeing the slides in between. So that's what that lock button does. So it's pretty simple as far as how Fire Studio Player Edition works. It doesn't take a big manual to figure it all out. A lot of people actually get it up and running without even looking at the user guide, but we wanted to make this video tutorial so that you can have a quick overview if you're new to the program. And I think once you watch this and start playing with it, it'll be a pretty easy transition for you to learn how to use the software. So that's it for this tutorial. I'm Jennifer Cates with Digital Combustion, and we'll see you on the next tutorial.